Flowers, open up inner flowers, peace and love in her inner power. Remember the days we saw purple haze, 1 and 1 is 3. Hey, hey, baby, what you do to me?
Still get a jury trial in D.C. So they decided to prosecute her for possession. And the Post covered the government lawyer, some assistant United States attorney, bemoaning the fact that they had to only get a maximum penalty of 180 days in jail for 40 pounds of marijuana. Despite the fact that I've written letters to the editor of the Washington Post that have never been published. Colleagues of mine have written letters to the editor of the Washington Post to try to set the record straight. They just don't get published at all. So what do we do? Any thoughts?
Keep writing letters.
No, I think of persistence. I mean, and what Alan tells me that the Fox local progressive propaganda outlet here is basically working the same beat. That the poor Washington D.C. has this terrible problem with marijuana, and there was a long article in the Post the other day that was along those lines. But it was really funny is that one of the problems is that they were citing, and one of the terrible consequences of this was that some of these street dealers have switched from selling crack and heroin to selling marijuana. Now, excuse me, but in 1986, I wrote an article on how the narcs created crack. Now, the next one's going to be how the Washington Post created crack. Because these bastards are lying to the people of Washington, D.C., they're lying to the power establishment in the United States, and they're using this, and this is simply, this is a part of the, exactly right, this is a part of a consistent propaganda campaign being waged in the nation's capital to get felony laws for possession of marijuana in D.C. Because that also could have been prosecuted under federal law here as well.
One of the things that's been helping tremendously in this campaign letters to the editor, MAP, the Media Awareness Project, and of course DRCnet, fabulous resources, and Dick's website as well. It's now available point and click. The reporters can find out what the actual facts are, but letter writers also have plenty of fertile information in there. And in the Los Angeles Times, we basically chased the prohibition field. There are no more letters in the Los Angeles Times in favor of drug prohibition. Every time, whenever it happens, in rare cases, there will be 6 or 8 or 10 responses. And it all comes from, I recognize many of the names, in fact, but it comes from these, the energy from these internet sites.
And by the way, A.O. Rosenthal, before he left the Times, in Out of My Mind column, actually wrote a column complaining that the Times was swamped by letters from druggies. That's not what the term is, but basically it's a pro-drug letter writer swamped the Times. Thing. So it does have an impact cumulatively, even at the Post, I think it will.
Steve, but they work for an establishment, and often it's even beyond the editor. It seems to be a lot of consolidation of more and more media into fewer and fewer hands. It's really going to be a challenge. I think that basically the media is not getting it as far as what the Bill of Rights was talking about, Thomas Paine with freedom of the press, and that was a press that truly is adversarial to the government. And rather than getting government officials for quotations, it would be more appropriate if there was any real concern about what the intention of the Bill of Rights giving a free press was, is to hear of people who have been victimized, who've been forced underground due to their own personal preferences, and that sort of thing. In fact, my problems with the newspaper make me really feel that what we need in this country probably is a national letters to the editor type of newspaper, because there is no greater credibility in my mind for what most reporters report in a newspaper than what a well-informed letter writer might have to say on a subject. And it's kind of like the idea that they have in China before it was destroyed, was that democracy wall, where people didn't look at the government's newspapers, but they went to the democracy wall to find out the fact what's happening. And perhaps that's what the internet's all about. And I just want to close with one thing. I think there's a difference. I don't know the definition. Maybe you could help me between being a reporter and being a journalist. But when I